Hey guys, tonight we step back in time to an era of exploration and uncharted horizons. Imagine yourself standing on the shifting deck of a creaking wooden ship, the relentless sun burning your skin and salt spray crusting your clothes stiff. Ahead looms the mouth of a river, wide enough to swallow your tiny fleet whole. This is the Amazon, and you are part of an expedition destined for either glory or oblivion. As dense greenery surrounds you like an oppressive blanket. Remember, most who dared this journey before never returned. In fact, you probably won't survive this either. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'd also love if you could comment your location and local time below. It helps me understand just how far across the world these stories travel. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Beneath you, the ship heaves with each wave, carrying your anxious anticipation toward an unknown destiny. It's the late 1600s, and Europe buzzes with tales of exotic lands filled with untold treasures, lost cities paved in gold, and hidden empires buried deep in the jungle. Yet, your reality is less romantic. Rotting wood, scurvy, and a crew worn thin by weeks of oppressive heat and dwindling rations. At last, the river's mouth opens before you. An enormous gateway shrouded by mist. Dark, shadowy figures dart through the tray line, visible only as vague movements against a wall of green. Your captain, a stern and weathered Portuguese noble, orders the ship forward. His reputation is one of bravery, or perhaps reckless ambition. Whispers among the crew suggest he's chasing personal glory more than any national pride. Soon, the Amazon swallows your ship, enveloping you in a silence broken only by the groaning of ropes and the fluttering of startled birds. The world darkens under a canopy thick enough to blot out the sun, creating a strange twilight in the middle of the day. Your heart quickens. You're entering a place Europeans call paradise, but also fear as a green hell. On the banks, massive trees tower high, their trunks draped in vines as thick as a man's thigh. The forest floor is hidden, dense with impenetrable growth that moves subtly, constantly. Everything here feels alive, watching, breathing. Every creature, every leaf, seems to be weighing your arrival. You grip the rail tighter, knuckles white, as you wonder exactly what secrets this uncharted world will reveal or conceal. Your companions, drawn from across Europe, Portuguese navigators, Spanish mercenaries, English naturalists, eye each other warily. Alliance and mistrust dance delicately here, fueled by cultural pride and past conflicts. But now, trapped together in this floating wooden prison, rivalries seem petty. You sense a fragile unity forming, tempered by shared unease. Soon enough, local guides secured months ago emerge from the forest, paddling narrow canoes with silent expertise. They board your ship, barefoot and unassuming, exchanging cautious greetings with the captain. Their eyes, intelligent and alert, betray no hint of their true feelings about your intrusion. Historians still argue whether these early interactions were genuine welcomes or cautious maneuvering, a diplomatic dance between two worlds on the brink of collision. As night falls, campfires illuminate the shore, tiny beacons of civilization in an endless darkness. You step onto solid ground for the first time in weeks, the earth soft beneath your feet. Around you, unfamiliar insects chorus loudly, their rhythmic hum enveloping you completely. It feels strangely comforting, even as unknown dangers lurk beyond the flickering firelight. Sleep comes uneasily, dreams intertwine with reality, and every rustle, every snap of a branch jolts you awake. Above, the sky reveals constellations foreign to your eyes. This land belongs to ancient civilizations, peoples who have lived and died beneath these same stars for thousands of years, their names forgotten by Europe, but embedded deeply in the earth itself. You wonder if their spirits watch from the darkness, judging the strangers who now trample carelessly upon their memories. By morning, your nerves are frayed, but excitement slowly overpowers exhaustion. Maps are unfolded and debated, plans made and remade, directions scribbled hastily in Europe, now seem laughably insufficient, inadequate to describe the complexity of the land before you. It becomes clear you'll need to rely heavily on local knowledge to survive, despite lingering suspicions about the intentions of your new guides. Together, your group sets off inland, leaving the relative safety of the riverbank behind. The jungle swallows you whole, and within minutes the river is invisible. The ship nothing but a distant memory. You're deep within the lungs of the world now, breathing air thick with moisture, the scent of decay interwoven with life. Every step forward demands exertion, hacking vines and branches, brushing aside spiderwebs large enough to catch birds. Yet despite discomfort, your curiosity grows. Plants and animals unlike anything described in European texts surround you. Flowers blaze with vibrant colors, petals as large as your face. Birds flash overhead in dizzying shades of red and blue. Even the insects, though alarming in size, captivate your imagination with their strange beauty. But beauty here is deceptive. Already, eyes among your group dart suspiciously. Tensions simmer just beneath the surface. Nature itself seems to whisper warnings, as if aware that every footfall carries you closer to danger. You feel watched, not only by wary companions but by the jungle itself, silently waiting, patiently biding its time. And deep down, beyond the excitement and fear, something else takes root. A quiet realization begins to emerge. This journey isn't simply about discovery, nor treasure, nor glory. It's about survival, endurance, and confronting truths that will forever change the way you see yourself, your companions, and the world you once knew. You plunge deeper into the endless green maze, each step taking you further from the reassuring familiarity of the river. The oppressive heat wraps around you, heavier than anything you've ever felt. Sweat trickles relentlessly down your spine, soaking your clothes and mixing with grime, mud, and insect bites. Soon, you learn to accept this discomfort as constant. The Amazon quickly makes clear there's no escaping its embrace. The expedition carves its way forward, guided by men whose survival skills have been honed by generations living amid these ancient trees. They move effortlessly, barefoot, their machetes slicing vines and undergrowth with practiced precision. In contrast, your European companions stumble awkwardly, burdened by heavy gear, clumsy boots sinking into soft earth. You watch silently, reflecting on the fragility of pride, the greatest explorers of Europe, humbled by something as simple as walking through the forest. Every direction looks identical, a claustrophobic tangle of green on green. Even sunlight struggles to penetrate the dense canopy, leaving the world beneath dimly illuminated, shadows rippling along every surface. You constantly glance upwards, desperately hoping for some small patch of sky to anchor your sense of direction. But the Amazon guards its secrets closely. You feel blindfolded, helplessly following your guides through twists and turns that blur your perception of distance, direction, and time. Occasionally, you'll glimpse strange shapes through the foliage, ruins half hidden, glimpses of ancient civilizations, now reclaimed by nature. Europeans have whispered for centuries about lost cities deep within the jungle. El Dorado, the legendary city of gold. But these glimpses reveal no gold, only stone structures covered in thick moss and vines, disappearing again as quickly as they appear. Each sighting teases your curiosity, inflaming imaginations and inspiring wild speculation among your fellow explorers. The reality of exploration sinks in slowly. This journey isn't romantic or noble. It's brutally physical. Sharp vines snag your clothing and skin, leaving thin, stinging cuts. Hidden roots send you sprawling into mud. Insects bite relentlessly, leaving swollen welts and itchy reminders of your vulnerability. Each night, exhausted and aching, you collapse near a fire built hastily to ward off the darkness and whatever dangers it concealed. As days stretch on, the expedition begins to fragment. Camaraderie formed during long months at sea begins to fray under pressure. Portuguese officers, accustomed to authority, bristle when their decisions are questioned. Spanish mercenaries, toughened by past battles, disdainfully mock the clumsiness of English scientists who collect samples and document every flower. Alliances are tested, resentments sharpen. You watch quietly, aware that this growing tension threatens your survival as much as any predator lurking in the shadows. And predators there certainly are. Every night, around the campfires, guides whisper unsettling tales of jaguars stalking silently through darkness, invisible until it's too late. They speak of enormous snakes, capable of swallowing grown men, creatures hidden in shadowy pools, waiting to pull unsuspecting travelers underwater. The stories grip your imagination, igniting primal fears rooted deep within the human psyche. Historians still argue whether these tales were merely local myths, designed to scare foreign invaders, or if they were based on real encounters distorted by fear. You, however, quickly come to understand that it hardly matters. Fear itself is powerful enough. Every rustle in the leaves, every distant animal cry, floods your body with adrenaline, sharpening senses while simultaneously wearing down nerves. You learn to move cautiously, your steps deliberate, senses hyper-aware of danger. Yet danger doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it sneaks quietly, appearing harmless until it strikes. You discover this firsthand when a crew member, fascinated by the delicate beauty of a brightly colored frog, reaches out carelessly. His scream is immediate, his hands swelling grotesquely within minutes. Panic spreads through the camp, confusion blending with desperation as your guides quickly search for remedies. You watch silently, powerless to help, as the man's condition deteriorates rapidly. The once cheerful sailor writhes feverishly, delirium clouding his eyes. In this moment, the harsh reality of your expedition's fragility becomes unmistakable. Your guides, calm and efficient, administer herbal concoctions gathered hastily from the forest, remedies passed down through countless generations. Hours later, the sailor stabilizes, breathing shallowly, weakened but alive. You silently thank your guides, realizing your lives depend entirely on their knowledge and goodwill. Still shaken, the expedition presses onward, morale brittle but determination reinforced by necessity. Every injury, every scare, reminds you of your tenuous grip on survival. The jungle constantly challenges your resolve, testing your patience and courage. Yet amidst this hardship, small moments of wonder occasionally break through. One morning, you pause by a stream to refill water skins, noticing movement at your feet. Butterflies, impossibly vibrant, float serenely nearby, drinking moisture from muddy banks. Their gentle beauty provides a rare moment of peace. Nearby, tiny monkeys chatter noisily from branches above, playfully tossing fruit down at you. Despite exhaustion and fear, you find yourself smiling briefly, captivated by a rare glimpse of innocence amid danger. But such moments never last. Your guides abruptly signal danger, eyes alert, muscles tense. Something watches from nearby, hidden among dense foliage. Your heart pounds wildly, senses straining to perceive any movement or threat. Slowly, cautiously, the guides indicate a safer path around the unseen menace. You follow silently, heart racing, the momentary joy quickly replaced by familiar dread. At night, lying awake beneath unfamiliar stars, you wonder how many unseen eyes watch your camp, and what strange thoughts fill the minds behind them. Sleep is shallow, filled with uneasy dreams and startling awakenings. This is your life now, a constant balancing act between awe and fear, curiosity and survival. Already you've learned more than you ever imagined, not just about this mysterious jungle, but about human limits and resilience. You begin to understand that exploration isn't merely about discovering new lands, but confronting one's own deepest fears and strengths. The Amazon will demand everything from you, stripping away every comfort and certainty you've ever known, leaving only the raw truth of your existence. The jungle grows denser, more tangled, as your group pushes ever deeper into the endless green heart of the Amazon. By now you've learned to walk carefully, aware that every plant, every leaf, might hide danger. The humidity clings oppressively to your body, leaving your skin perpetually damp and chilled in a way that defies the tropical heat. In this strange environment, even something as simple as breathing feels difficult, as though the air itself resists intrusion by outsiders. Here, among vines and towering ferns, your guides point out a hidden reality. The very plants around you harbor deadly secrets. You listen carefully, wide-eyed and cautious, as they describe leaves whose touch alone can burn flesh, and fruits, vibrant with alluring colors, but fatal if tasted. These warnings feel like dark fairy tales, whispered solemnly beneath the oppressive canopy. Yet each cautionary tale comes vividly to life when one of your companions, reaching to steady himself, brushes against an innocuous-looking plant and immediately recoils, crying out in pain. Within minutes, angry red blisters erupt across his palm and fingers. The guides shake their heads solemnly, preparing herbal salves with practiced ease. You watch, both horrified and fascinated, as leaves are crushed into a pulp and smeared gently over his wounded skin, easing pain almost instantly. In this brutal place, it seems, every danger holds its own cure. If you possess the knowledge, this realization unsettles you deeply. Your European education, with its confident certainties, suddenly feels profoundly inadequate. Each passing hour reveals more botanical threats, sap oozing from trees, capable of causing blindness, vines equipped with invisible barbs that slice unnoticed until blood drips silently to the jungle floor. You learn quickly to move deliberately, respecting nature's subtle warnings. Still, the threat is constant, inescapable. Around every corner lies potential danger, each plant appearing both fascinating and threatening in equal measure. Yet, paradoxically, some dangers carry unexpected blessings. At one point, the expedition stumbles across a grove of enormous trees, whose bark your guides prize above all else. You watch curiously as strips of reddish bark are peeled gently from massive trunks. Soon a bitter-smelling tea is brewed over your campfire, offered solemnly to anyone suffering from fever or muscle pain. You sip cautiously, grimacing at the harsh taste, but soon your aches ease slightly, replaced by mild euphoria and calm. You later realize you've just tasted the bark of the cinchona tree, a plant Europeans will later cherish for its miraculous quinine, capable of treating malaria and other deadly fevers. As you continue your relentless trek, your group becomes increasingly dependent on these indigenous remedies. In a harsh irony, the plants threatening your survival also become your greatest allies. Historians still debate whether early explorers fully understood the importance of these herbal treatments or simply relied on their guides out of desperate necessity. But you, firsthand, experience this delicate balance, nature both providing and withholding life. Your journey through this green wilderness isn't just physical, it's deeply psychological. You confront not only external dangers, but internal anxieties, realizing how vulnerable humans truly are when stripped of their civilization's protective layers. At times, this vulnerability feels unbearable. Your imagination spins wildly, conjuring visions of unseen threats lurking behind every shadow, hidden beneath every leaf. Nights become torturous, spent in restless vigilance rather than restful sleep. Yet, even as fear gnaws relentlessly at your nerves, a strange reverence also begins to take root. The Amazon is neither good nor evil. It simply exists, indifferent to your survival. Vast beyond comprehension, there's something humbling in this thought. The jungle demands respect, and those who ignore its warnings pay dearly. This becomes heartbreakingly clear. One humid afternoon, when a young botanist from your expedition excitedly discovers a fruit he's read about in European texts, a vibrant berry tantalizingly ripe. Ignoring cautious protests from your guides, he eagerly pops it into his mouth. Within moments, his face pales, his breathing grows shallow, panic visible in his eyes. His throat swells, gasping breaths barely audible. The guides rush forward, desperately administering antidotes, but nothing works. Within minutes, he lies motionless, eyes open in a final expression of shocked disbelief. Your group buries him quietly, beneath a thick carpet of leaves. No speeches, no prayers, only silent acknowledgement of the thin line between life and death here. A grim lesson, forever seared into memory. You carry on heavier, each step burdened by loss, by the brutal truth that exploration means facing the unknown without guarantee or mercy. Amid this turmoil, you come to appreciate small comforts deeply. Every edible fruit, carefully selected by your guides, tastes sweeter after witnessing tragedy. Every safe path chosen feels miraculous. Every night without incident precious. You begin to perceive the jungle differently, not merely as a terrifying threat, but as an intricate web of survival, where danger and life intertwine inseparably. The indigenous guides, sensing your changing perspective, grow warmer toward you, their cautious respect gradually transforming into tentative camaraderie. Without speaking each other's languages fluently, you communicate through gestures, shared glances, and quiet nods. The European expedition, however ambitious, is utterly dependent on their knowledge. You recognize this fact humbly, without shame or resentment. Survival binds all of you together, dissolving barriers of culture and language, revealing fundamental human truths. Despite everything, or perhaps because of it, your sense of awe grows with each day spent beneath the canopy. The Amazon reveals itself not merely as a deadly obstacle to overcome, but as a profoundly complex world to understand, one whose lessons run far deeper than physical survival alone. It's about knowing yourself, understanding limits, and finding strength in vulnerability. Yet, your journey has barely begun. The jungle ahead promises more revelations, both beautiful and terrifying. You sense instinctively that the Amazon has only started revealing its secrets, and that the price for each discovery will remain perilously high. Even as your legs ache and your mind frays, you steel yourself for whatever lies ahead. Because now, more than ever, you understand the true cost of exploration, and you are determined to face it. You move cautiously, deeper into the heart of a territory that grows increasingly mysterious and unknown. By now, the presence of indigenous people in this dense wilderness is undeniable. Small signs, subtle yet unmistakable, mark their passage. A carefully concealed trail, the faint aroma of smoke, and occasionally, distant drumming carried faintly on humid air. Your guides grow more alert, their eyes scanning carefully, reading messages invisible to your untrained senses. You're keenly aware that you're now walking on someone else's land occupied and revered long before Europeans set foot here. One afternoon, your group emerges suddenly into a small clearing. The space feels unnatural, carefully maintained amidst relentless jungle growth. You pause cautiously, tension rippling through your companions. Then slowly, one by one, figures appear from the edge of the clearing, stepping silently from shadows. Your heart skips, a momentary fear jolts through you, but you force yourself to remain calm. They watch quietly, their gazes curious yet guarded. Your guides step forward, palms open, speaking softly in a language you cannot understand. They gesture toward your group, explaining something gently and respectfully. You sense negotiations are delicate, balanced carefully between potential friendship and unseen danger. Slowly, the tension begins to ease. After a brief conversation, your guides nod respectfully, beckoning your group forward. As you enter their village, your eyes widen with fascination. Thatched huts arranged neatly in circles surround a communal space filled with bustling activity. Men, women, and children pause to watch your arrival, their faces registering curiosity, caution, and quiet dignity. You're struck by their simplicity, their profound harmony with the environment. Here, life seems to flow naturally, without European complexities or ambitions clouding existence. The villagers receive your expedition with cautious hospitality. Food is offered, simple yet satisfying: roasted fish, seasoned lightly, fruits gathered freshly from surrounding trees, and a bitter drink that energizes weary muscles. You eat gratefully, silently appreciating the warmth behind this tentative welcome. Historians still debate whether indigenous hospitality toward early explorers was driven by genuine kindness, strategic diplomacy, or perhaps cautious fear. Sitting here among them, you suspect it might be a mixture of all three. But beneath this seemingly tranquil surface lies tension. You notice subtle hesitations, cautious glances exchanged between villagers. Your European companions, unaware or perhaps simply indifferent, eat hungrily and laugh boisterously, oblivious to the fragile balance being maintained. You cringe inwardly, sensing their behavior might unintentionally offend, yet you are helpless to intervene, forced instead to silently observe the subtle dance of cultural diplomacy unfolding before you. Later, as darkness falls, you witness a gathering around a central fire. The village elder steps forward, speaking passionately and solemnly, his voice rhythmic and resonant, echoing softly into the night. Though you cannot understand his words, you feel their gravity, sensing they hold deep meaning about your presence and intentions. Soon after, One of your guides quietly explains that permission has been granted to continue your journey, but that certain areas are strictly forbidden, sacred territories that outsiders must never enter. Despite the seriousness of these warnings, your expedition's leaders quietly dismiss them, already whispering plans about exploration deeper into precisely those forbidden territories. Their eyes shine with excitement and greed, captivated by rumors of treasures and hidden cities, far more compelling than caution or respect for indigenous warnings. You feel a deep unease, recognizing how easily ambition can blind reason, transforming curiosity into reckless arrogance. Before leaving the village, a small exchange of gifts occurs. Trinkets from Europe, mirrors, beads, knives, are traded for handcrafted pottery, intricately woven textiles, and medicinal plants, whose values you only vaguely understand. The villagers seem polite but unimpressed, accepting your offerings more from courtesy than genuine appreciation. Their gifts, however, carry deep significance. Objects crafted with skill, embedded with cultural meaning, intended not merely as souvenirs, but as gestures of goodwill, reminders of mutual respect. You hold them carefully, suddenly aware that your group may not fully grasp their true worth. When dawn arrives, you depart silently, villagers watching cautiously as your expedition fades back into the endless green shadows. You glance back once, catching sight of the elder's solemn gaze following you thoughtfully. He nods gently, a gesture carrying both a quiet blessing and unspoken warning. Proceed carefully, tread respectfully, or pay dearly for your arrogance. You internalize this message deeply, though you doubt your companions share your caution. Days later, the warnings you've carried quietly within yourself become increasingly relevant. Conversations among your group grow tense, arguments erupting more frequently over direction, provisions, and strategy. The once firm alliance forged among your European companions begins cracking visibly under the strain. Decisions grow reckless, driven more by desperation and frustration than logic. Yet, your guides remain patient, quietly observing the unraveling with a knowing sadness, perhaps recognizing the inevitability of such collapse. Every step deeper into the forbidden lands feels heavier, burdened by guilt and unease. Your heart quickens at every unfamiliar noise, each unexpected movement triggering sharp jolts of anxiety. Gradually, you begin questioning the morality of your own participation in this venture. Whose ambition do you serve? Whose greed has pulled you so far into a land never meant to be conquered, only respected or feared? Deep in thought, one evening, you sit near your campfire, gazing into flickering flames that cast long shadows across weary faces. Nearby, your companions argue heatedly over maps and paths forward, ignoring warnings from your guides who quietly protest these dangerous routes. You remain silent, increasingly convinced that the expedition's fate hangs by the thinnest thread. Trust erodes daily, replaced by suspicion and resentment. Yet amidst turmoil, you cling stubbornly to lessons learned from the village: humility, caution, respect for the land and its people. These values, quiet yet profoundly meaningful, become anchors holding you steady in rising chaos. You understand now that exploration isn't merely about conquest or discovery, but responsibility, the duty to approach unknown worlds with open eyes, humble hearts, and deep reverence for the complexities found within them. As your companions grow louder, their voices tinged with frustration and ambition, you close your eyes briefly, hearing again the quiet voice of the village elder. His silent wisdom resonates deeply within you, a reminder that every step forward carries weight, consequence, and responsibility. Tomorrow promises uncertainty, danger, and perhaps tragedy. Yet tonight, beneath unfamiliar stars, you commit silently to honoring the fragile trust given by those who first welcomed you into their world. As you leave behind the relative safety of the village and venture further inland, your expedition's path brings you once again to the broad, murky currents of the Amazon River. Its expanse is formidable, a brownish ribbon slicing through endless green. Your guides quietly warn of the dangers hidden within these waters, warnings your companions hear, but largely dismiss, confident that their experience navigating European rivers has adequately prepared them. But you can't help but notice the unease flickering in your guide's eyes as canoes are pushed gently into the river's slow-moving embrace. Once afloat, the scale of the Amazon quickly becomes apparent. It stretches wide, the far shore barely visible through misty heat, reinforcing a sense of isolation that creeps beneath your skin. Water laps rhythmically against your canoe, soothing yet vaguely unsettling, each gentle splash echoing softly in your ears. You peer into the depths, attempting to glimpse what might lurk beneath. But all you see is a swirling brown reflection of your own anxious face. Within minutes, your nerves are tested. Shadows drift slowly beneath the surface, shapes large enough to send chills up your spine. Your imagination conjures terrible visions, recalling whispers from the guides about creatures lurking silently, unseen until it's too late. You grip your paddle tighter, attempting to remain calm, even as anxiety twists like a coil within your chest. Suddenly, the water ahead erupts violently. A massive shape lunges upward, a giant river dolphin breaking the surface with startling force. Your heart leaps, relief flooding briefly through your body, until your guides murmur softly, exchanging nervous glances. These dolphins, harmless at first glance, are reminders that you're not alone here. Their presence signals a rich and crowded ecosystem beneath, one filled with predators far more dangerous. Indeed, the river teems with life, as fascinating as it is terrifying. Schools of piranha dart beneath your canoe, their razor-sharp teeth hidden by deceptively calm water. Despite your companions' amused skepticism, your guides refuse to trail fingers or hands overboard, cautious eyes constantly watching for any sign of aggression. Historians still debate the actual threat these infamous fish posed to early explorers. But here, in this moment, their mere presence feels dangerously real. Yet piranha aren't your only concern. Along muddy banks, your guides point out massive reptiles basking silently, nearly invisible except for eyes glinting ominously in sunlight. Black caimans, creatures capable of pulling fully grown humans underwater with terrifying ease. Your mind spins at the thought, imagination vividly depicting your own demise, trapped beneath dark waters, helpless against impossible strength. You shake your head quickly, forcing the vision away, paddling faster despite trembling hands. Even simple mistakes carry catastrophic risks. At one point, another canoe brushes against a submerged log. Almost immediately, a dozen small shapes spring onto the unlucky crew, biting and stinging furiously. Your companions leap up in panic, splashing frantically, shouting as they attempt to remove biting insects that seem impossibly aggressive. Your canoe floats helplessly nearby, watching as chaos unfolds. Eventually, calm returns, leaving your companions bruised, bleeding, and thoroughly shaken. Nightfall on the river offers no respite. Camps are made hastily along muddy banks, fires kept bright to discourage predators drawn by movement and scent. Still, each splash from the river, each rustling leaf or breaking twig, sends pulses of adrenaline surging through your veins. Sleep is fractured, haunted by nightmares blending reality and imagination. Visions of jaws snapping from shadowy depths, dragging you beneath dark waters forever. Yet despite fear, you remain fascinated by this strange environment. Moonlight turns the river silver, its gentle surface deceptively calm. Each sound is magnified, amplified by your imagination. Frogs croak rhythmically from hidden recesses. Nocturnal birds call mournfully, their cries floating hauntingly through darkness. Your heart beats in harmony with these sounds, rhythms primal and timeless, linking you intimately to this wild world. On rare peaceful mornings, the river reveals gentler surprises. Brightly colored macaws soar overhead, their vibrant feathers gleaming in sunlight. Turtles bask lazily along sandy banks, eyes half closed, indifferent to your cautious presence. In these brief moments, you sense harmony, a delicate balance between predator and prey, danger and beauty, fear and wonder. The Amazon exists beyond human judgment, indifferent, yet profoundly interconnected, reminding you constantly of your place within a larger natural order. Yet harmony here remains fleeting. One humid afternoon, your guides abruptly halt, eyes narrowing in alarm. Ahead, floating silently, lies the bloated carcass of a massive anaconda, its coils thick as your thigh, its body marked with unmistakable signs of a fierce battle. Your guides speak quietly, fearfully, exchanging tense glances. Something enormous and powerful killed this serpent, something still nearby. unseen beneath dark waters. You paddle forward cautiously, heart pounding, eyes straining desperately to detect danger hidden beneath rippling surfaces. A moment later, chaos erupts. A powerful force slams your canoe from beneath, knocking you forward violently. Panic shouts fill the air as a monstrous armored creature breaches briefly. A prehistoric-looking Arapaima, a river giant capable of capsizing boats with startling ease. You barely recover balance, heart hammering painfully within your chest, breaths rapid and shallow. Your guides shout warnings, paddling furiously away from danger, their faces etched with fear. The expedition hastily retreats to shore, nerves shattered. You collapse exhausted, onto muddy ground, trembling uncontrollably. For several long minutes your mind spins wildly, replaying your brush with death, haunted by the relentless hostility of this environment. This river, majestic and terrifying, harbors countless secrets and dangers beyond your comprehension. It demands respect. One misstep, one careless moment, can cost everything. Yet somehow, you press forward. Your determination surprises even yourself, emerging from deep within, strength forged not from bravery but necessity. The expedition continues, sobered yet committed, each stroke of your paddle echoing resolve and quiet defiance against the river's attempts to break you. As you drift forward into the unknown, a profound awareness settles within you. The Amazon River is not merely water, but life and death intertwined, beauty and horror inseparable. It mirrors your own journey, a quest marked equally by fascination and dread, curiosity and fear, survival and sacrifice. And within its currents, you recognize truths about yourself and humanity itself. That exploration is not about conquest, but coexistence, a dance between reverence and recklessness, humility and hubris. Tonight, as your canoe glides silently onward beneath unfamiliar stars, you hold these lessons close, acutely aware that this journey remains far from over, that more dangers, perhaps even greater than those you faced, still wait patiently ahead, hidden beneath gentle ripples. As you journey further upriver, a new adversary quietly takes hold of your expedition. Unseen and insidious, it begins subtly at first, just whispers of fatigue among your companions, faces that grow pale and eyes that carry dark circles beneath. You dismiss it initially, attributing the weakness to exhaustion, poor diet, or the strain of constant vigilance. But soon enough, it's clear, disease has infiltrated your ranks, and the consequences become impossible to ignore. Fever spreads silently, person to person, creeping through your group with frightening efficiency. Each morning, more explorers emerge from their tents weak and disoriented, struggling even to stand. Your guides, skilled but visibly worried, confer urgently among themselves, seeking remedies hidden within the jungle. Tensions rise rapidly as the medical knowledge brought from Europe proves increasingly useless. This disease, foreign to your bodies but familiar to your surroundings, defies all attempts at conventional treatment. Your expedition's doctor, an older Portuguese physician, renowned in Europe for his expertise, finds himself overwhelmed and helpless. You watch his face grow increasingly drawn, lines deepening each day as he frantically mixes medicines that achieve nothing. In desperation, he argues fiercely with the indigenous healers accompanying you, his professional pride bruised by his own inability to cure or even understand the sickness sweeping through camp. Historians still debate the specifics of these clashes between European doctors and indigenous healers, but you feel the tension keenly, sensing that beneath these arguments lies deeper conflict, trust versus pride, local wisdom versus foreign arrogance. The illness, meanwhile, only worsens. Those afflicted toss restlessly through nights filled with chills and unbearable heat. Their eyes stare blankly into darkness, haunted by fever dreams that blur the boundary between reality and nightmare. You spend hours beside friends you've known since leaving Europe, gently wiping their sweat-soaked brows, offering whispered assurances that feel hollow even as you speak them. In daylight, desperation mounts. Your guides scavenge the forest diligently, returning each evening with unfamiliar roots, leaves and bark. You watch fascinated and hopeful as they boil strange concoctions whose pungent odors fill your makeshift campsites. Some treatments ease symptoms briefly, others seem ineffective, but the effort never ceases. Your trust in these indigenous healers deepens profoundly, recognizing their tireless dedication even amidst exhaustion and frustration. However, your European companions remain deeply skeptical, reluctant to rely on treatments whose logic defies their understanding of medicine. Arguments erupt frequently, tempers flaring under stress, creating a camp atmosphere thick with suspicion and resentment. Mistrust spreads almost as rapidly as disease itself. Each failed remedy sharpens tensions further, deepening rifts among companions already tested by hardship and fatigue. The situation reaches a heartbreaking climax when one evening, a younger sailor, someone you've grown fond of for his quiet courage, succumbs suddenly. The shock ripples painfully through camp, the loss palpable. Your companions bury him hastily beneath thick layers of foliage, quiet sobs barely audible above jungle sounds. There is no ceremony, no proper farewell, just lingering silence heavy with grief and helpless anger at your collective vulnerability. In the wake of this tragedy, your expedition fractures further. The Portuguese captain withdraws bitterly, isolated in his tent, angry and ashamed at his leadership's failure to protect those under his command. The expedition doctor, humbled and broken, relinquishes control completely, deferring quietly to indigenous healers he once openly criticized. You observe all this silently, saddened yet unsurprised. This jungle has stripped away pretensions, exposing harsh realities about survival, pride, and humility. Your indigenous guides, once quiet, deferential, now emerge as your expedition's true leaders. Their knowledge of the jungle's medicine becomes crucially important, no longer ignored or dismissed, but eagerly sought. You feel a profound respect for these healers, whose quiet dignity and deep wisdom have become your greatest hope for survival. Each evening you gather closely around campfires, quietly listening as they explain how each remedy interacts with the human body, how plants communicate subtle messages of healing or harm. This knowledge, so deeply rooted in generations of observation, feels infinitely more meaningful than any European medical text you've read. Gradually, as the indigenous treatments gain acceptance, your group's health stabilizes, fevers ebb slowly, bodies regain strength, eyes clear slightly. Your companions cautiously emerge from their tents, weakened but hopeful, humbled profoundly by experiences that shattered their arrogance. The lessons learned through illness, the brutal equality of vulnerability, the necessity of humility, the true cost of ignorance, resonate deeply, changing how your group interacts with each other, with the jungle, and with your indigenous guides. Yet recovery remains fragile. Every night, lying awake beneath unfamiliar constellations, you fear relapse, each small cough or groan jolting you awake anxiously. Your companions share this quiet dread, exchanging solemn glances each morning, silently acknowledging survival's fragile nature. You now fully comprehend your expedition's profound vulnerability, dependent entirely upon indigenous knowledge, stripped of any pretensions of European superiority. As days pass slowly, your group resumes tentative exploration. Your movements remain cautious, tempered by fresh awareness of danger hidden invisibly around you. Each step into the jungle now carries greater respect and deeper caution, guided not by ambition but genuine reverence for this environment's complexity. Your journey, previously driven by dreams of treasure or glory, now feels anchored in a more profound truth. Survival itself is the greatest achievement. Reflecting quietly during rare, peaceful moments, you recognize your own profound transformation. The Amazon has taught you humility, compassion, and the depth of human resilience. It has shown you clearly that knowledge cannot exist without respect, healing cannot occur without trust, and survival itself demands the strength found only through vulnerability. You feel these lessons deeply, knowing they will remain etched permanently within your soul, reshaping how you understand yourself, humanity, and the natural world. Yet your journey is far from finished. Ahead lies further uncertainty, new dangers, challenges, and perhaps more tragedies. The jungle, indifferent yet instructive, continues patiently guiding your understanding, revealing truths in its own quiet yet powerful ways. You move forward now cautiously, reverently, humbled profoundly, yet also strengthened immeasurably by experiences endured and lessons learned. And tonight, beneath quiet stars, listening softly to your companion's gentle breathing, You feel grateful for survival, for healing, and for wisdom gained at such great cost. You know the jungle has more secrets still hidden, awaiting discovery, each promising revelation accompanied inevitably by further challenges, danger, and sacrifice. It begins as a whisper, an idle mention during a quiet meal, spoken half in jest, half in hope. A lost city, someone says. A place of stone towers veiled by mist, buried deep within the jungle's untouched interior. The mention hangs in the humid air like smoke, impossible to ignore. You see it in their eyes, a hunger. The disease may have weakened their bodies, but ambition remains untouched, burning even brighter in its wake. The story spreads quickly through the camp, igniting a familiar spark that no hardship seems able to quench. Whispers echo through evening conversations. Old maps pulled from damp packs, legends scrawled in fading ink, references to Paititi, to El Dorado, to cities of shining white stone hidden in the folds of the green abyss. Some scoff, reminding others that these tales have led countless expeditions to ruin. But many believe or want to believe. After all, why else endure so much? There must be more at the end of this agony than just survival. The promise of a hidden city does something dangerous. It reignites ambition. Rested bodies begin to move, with renewed energy. Weaker men push themselves harder. Plans are drawn with feverish speed, and your expedition changes course. Not in pursuit of safety, but in pursuit of myth. Your guides are less enthused. You notice the tension in their voices, their reluctance to approach certain areas. They speak of cursed places, forests that no animals enter, groves where even the wind seems to avoid. But your captain waves these concerns away. Fear of shadows, he calls it, old superstition. Yet you watch the guides closely, and their unease is real. You start to understand that while Europeans chase legends, the people of this land remember something different. Not golden cities, but vanished places no one dares return to. Historians still argue whether the rumors of a city hidden in the Amazon ever had truth behind them. Some say it was born from misinterpreted stories told to desperate conquerors. Others insist ancient civilizations flourished here. Sophisticated, spiritual, and urbanized. Archaeological evidence has surfaced in modern times. Geoglyphs, road networks, signs of population centers. But in your moment, none of this exists in certainty. All you have is belief, or disbelief. And belief becomes fuel. The jungle that yesterday seemed like a barrier now feels like a threshold. Every stone outcrop becomes a possible foundation. Every ridge might hide a staircase. You begin to interpret the jungle's silence not as indifference but secrecy, as if something waits to be uncovered. This change in perspective is subtle but powerful. You walk with more purpose, eyes scanning treetops and undergrowth alike. The mundane becomes charged with significance. Then, a find, half buried beneath moss and roots, a carved stone, the work of human hands, unmistakable. It is weathered, almost consumed by time, but clearly shaped. You run your fingers across it, tracing the ancient grooves. Others gather, breath held. The excitement is immediate, electric. If one stone exists here, there may be more. And there are. Over the next days, small signs emerge. Trails that seem too straight to be natural, large platforms of earth, raised unnaturally high, soil darker and richer than anything around it, filled with signs of human activity, long past. Your group becomes obsessed. Every effort turns to digging, examining, mapping. Sickness is forgotten. Disputes are paused. Hope, it seems, has returned. But hope, in the Amazon, is always a double-edged blade. Your relentless pursuit begins to wear down your guides. Some refuse to go further. One disappears in the night. The others grow quiet, their eyes downcast, their warnings more frequent. They speak again of sacred places, of angering spirits, of the jungle turning hostile when its boundaries are crossed. And though many in your party still dismiss these as primitive fears, you've seen too much to ignore them completely. Your captain, however, is more resolute than ever. To him, this is proof he is on the right path, that the fear of others only confirms the value of what lies ahead. He speaks now of legacy, of names carved in European stone, of glory history cannot erase. You see the same intensity in his eyes that burned at the journey's beginning, but now it flickers with something darker. Desperation, perhaps, or obsession. One evening, as you sit apart from the camp, staring into the coals of the fire, you feel a strange sensation in the air. Not fear, exactly, something more complicated. Anticipation. You realize the expedition has reached a point of no return. The jungle, once merely oppressive, now feels charged, alert, almost reactive. You remember the guide's words that this forest watches, that some places are not lost, but hidden on purpose. In your dreams that night, you see stone towers veiled in mist. You walk narrow corridors lined with vines and strange carvings. Hear voices that echo through hollow chambers. You wake in sweat, unsure if what you've seen was vision or illusion. The fever may have passed, but the line between dream and waking is thinner now. You feel it blurring more with each step deeper. Still, the expedition presses forward, drawn not by a clear goal, but by suggestion, by myth, by the weight of something unspoken that hovers just ahead. Even those who were skeptical now feel the pull. Something is close. You can feel it in your chest, in your bones, but you do not yet understand what it is or what it will cost. The jungle tightens its grip. For weeks now, you've followed a path not marked on any map. Your direction is shaped by instinct, by hunches, and by the cryptic words of guides who have grown increasingly hesitant, even fearful. The deeper you go, the more it feels like you're trespassing. Not just physically, but spiritually. The air is thicker here, not only with moisture, but with weight, as though the forest itself resents your presence. Every branch seems lower, every shadow longer. Movement slows, silence deepens. And then, without warning, the attacks begin. At first, it's just stolen supplies, a satchel missing from camp. Canoes found with ropes mysteriously cut, left drifting into the current. Your captain assumes it's animals, or perhaps traitors among your own ranks. But your guides say nothing. Their silence is heavy. Their eyes scan the trees constantly now, never resting. You begin to notice figures, always just beyond clear sight. A silhouette between trees, the rustle of movement, far too rhythmic to be a bird or monkey. At night, the firelight flickers across faces that are visibly frightened. You don't know who is watching you, or how many, but you are certain now, you are not alone. One evening, you return to camp after scouting only to find a man gone. No sign of struggle, no trail, just the impression of his bedroll. Still warm. The jungle has swallowed him clean. Whispers ripple through the group. Paranoia takes hold. Some accuse the guides, others suspect a rival faction within the expedition. There is no evidence, only silence. The next night, arrows fall. No war cries, no warning, just the sudden hiss of air, the soft thump of impact. One man drops instantly, an arrow deep in his neck. Another screams, clutching his side. Panic explodes. Fires are scattered. Shouts fill the air. Everyone dives for cover, weapons drawn, eyes wide but seeing nothing. Your own heart pounds so hard it feels like it might rip through your chest. You press your back to a tree, staring into the dark, waiting for shapes to emerge. But the jungle shows nothing. The attack is over in moments. And once again, the forest is silent. In the aftermath, the captain tries to assert control. He orders tighter patrols, harsher discipline, but his voice is no longer steady. He looks over his shoulder more often now, sleeps with his pistol beside him. His authority, once absolute, now wavers under the weight of fear. You try to speak to the guides. One of the elder men finally answers, in a voice barely above a whisper. He speaks of an old warning territories, marked by signs that your group did not recognize. Places that should never have been entered. This is no random violence, he says. This is a response, a message. You are being told to leave. Historians still argue whether early European expeditions were attacked out of hostility, defense, or a deeper cultural imperative, retaliation for trespass into the sacred. The truth, you now suspect, may be a mix of all three. You feel it in your bones. You've crossed a line you didn't even know was there, and the consequences are just beginning. Some among your group suggest turning back, But it's not that simple. Supplies are dwindling. The route behind is no longer safe. You are lost in both mind and direction. Forward feels dangerous. Backward feels impossible. You are caught, suspended in a land that does not want you, with no clear escape. Worse still, your companions turn on each other. Accusations fly in the dark. One man claims the cook is poisoning the food. Another blames the doctor for the growing death toll. Fights erupt over water, over maps, over leadership. A knife is drawn during a heated argument. The captain breaks it up, but barely. The unity that once held the expedition together has dissolved. Now it's every man for himself. And the attacks continue, always at night, always brief. Sometimes just arrows. Other times, traps are found, sharpened stakes buried beneath leaf-covered ground, ropes stretched across trails to send riders flying. You sleep in bursts, waking at every sound, every creak of wood or chirp of insect that might not be just that. Your body aches from constant tension, your eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep. You begin to notice things that don't make sense. A familiar tree passed twice in a single day, even though you're certain the expedition didn't double back. Voices echo strangely in the dense brush, sometimes in languages none of you speak, and once, as you fill your canteen in a quiet stream, you see a single red handprint on a stone, fresh, wet, impossibly high above the waterline. It's not just physical warfare now, it's psychological. You are being hunted. One night you hear a sound that changes everything. It starts as a hum, low, rhythmic. Then it builds, rising into a kind of chant. Not close, not far. Dozens of voices, maybe hundreds. It comes from the trees themselves, it seems, vibrating through the roots, the leaves, your chest. Everyone freezes. There's no agreement on what to do. Some hide, some prepare to flee. You simply sit still, eyes closed, listening, trying to understand something that you know lies just beyond your reach. And then it stops, clean, as if it had never been there. Your captain calls for movement at first light. The goal now isn't discovery, it's escape. He doesn't admit it, but you see it clearly. He is broken. Whatever lies ahead is unknown, but it must be safer than what stalks behind. As your group begins moving again, weary, fragmented, and increasingly unsure of itself, you can't shake the feeling that something is following you. Something patient, not an army, not a creature, but a will, a present. You begin to question whether the jungle is only physical, or whether you've stumbled into something older, something sacred, something that does not forgive intrusion. This is no longer an expedition, it is a trespass, and the price, you sense, will only rise from here. The canopy above thickens to the point where the sun no longer marks the passage of time. Days and nights blur, measured only by hunger and exhaustion. The jungle, so vast and alive, now feels like a maze built to confuse and consume you. And it is working. Your numbers are shrinking, not just from the ambushes, which have now stopped as suddenly as they began, leaving only fear in their wake. Not just from the fever, which still burns in the weaker members, but from something quieter, more insidious, despair. Men simply stop. They fall behind the group, muttering incoherently, eyes blank. Some collapse and refuse to rise, staring at the canopy like they're waiting for something to reach down and end it. Others begin to talk to people who aren't there. Once you find one of your own shouting violently at a tree, accusing it of stealing his boots. You try to hold on to reason, to routine, to small tasks, checking the water, preparing your gear, helping the wounded. But the madness is creeping. You feel it scratching at the edges of your thoughts, feeding on sleep deprivation, isolation, and that gnawing feeling that you are being watched, not by people, but by the forest itself. Your supplies, which seemed so abundant at the beginning, now dwindle alarmingly. The salted meat has long since rotted in the heat. Flour turned to paste. Sugar melted into slime. Now you ration whatever you find. Roots offered by your remaining guides. Unfamiliar fruits that require careful testing. The occasional lucky catch of a bird or lizard. You watch as proud men chew beetles with trembling hands, their dignity long since traded for survival. Water becomes the next crisis. Despite being surrounded by rivers and streams, many are undrinkable, too murky, too still, or tainted with unseen dangers. One man, desperate, drinks directly from a stagnant pool. Within hours, he doubles over in pain. By morning, he is gone. The captain, once a towering figure of conviction, is a shadow of himself. He no longer gives speeches or draws ambitious plans in the dirt. He merely trudges forward, eyes hollow, driven by momentum rather than belief. When asked for direction, he deflects. When pressed, he lashes out. Authority has turned brittle. He has become less a leader and more a symbol of failure, of ambition gone sour. You begin to chart your own course within the group. Small clusters form, pockets of loyalty and suspicion. You stick close to the guides, now just 3 of them, who continue to move with quiet efficiency, though even they seem worn thin. Their expressions are different now, less guarded, more resigned. They speak less often, and when they do, it is not about finding the lost city or making it back to the coast. It is about weather, about signs, about balance. They no longer walk through the forest, they walk with it, always listening. Historians still argue whether these dwindling expeditions lost their way due to poor leadership, faulty maps, or simple bad luck. You've come to believe none of these reasons capture the full truth. The jungle is not lost, it is deliberate. It allows what it chooses and repels what it doesn't. You weren't simply unlucky, you were uninvited. As hunger deepens, behavior changes. Once generous men grow fiercely possessive, you see them hoarding scraps, snapping at one another for seconds. There is a sharpness now in the way people look at each other, calculating, measuring strength, weighing consequences. You fear what might happen if things worsen. You fear the moment when hunger becomes stronger than friendship. It arrives one morning when the camp wakes to discover the pack mules gone. Their ropes severed clean, tracks vanish quickly in the underbrush, leaving only silence behind. Whether it was animals or people or something else, no one can say, but the result is the same. What little remained is gone. That day, your group walks slowly, no longer speaking. The silence becomes its own language, filled with tension. Around midday, a man collapses mid-step. His legs simply fold. You rush to his side, lifting his head. He stares at you, lips moving, but no sound emerging. You realize he's too weak to speak. The captain orders the march to continue. You refuse. A confrontation begins, sharp, tense, crackling with fatigue. But before anything escalates, the guides intervene. They say something quietly to the captain. You don't understand the words, but you understand their meaning. It's over. The captain turns and walks away. You and a few others stay behind with the fallen man, building a small shelter from leaves and branches. You leave food beside him, though you know it's probably not enough. You don't speak of it later, no one does. But the memory lingers. From that point on, survival becomes a series of quiet calculations. Every action is a question. Can I afford to help? Can I afford not to? Trust becomes rare. Every day you walk beside men who may no longer be your allies. You sleep with your hand resting near your knife. You scan the treetops constantly, half expecting to see figures again, those same silent watchers. But they have vanished, as if satisfied with your suffering, as if the message was received. Yet you continue, step by step, driven not by hope now, but by inertia, by the belief that to stop would mean disappearing into the vines, unnoticed and unremembered. You are no longer exploring, you are enduring. You wonder how many others throughout history have walked this same path, not toward discovery, but away from it, fleeing a mistake too vast to name. The forest, once deafening with bird calls and insect hums, grows quieter. You realize it's not just you, it is the jungle itself. The animals have moved on. Something feels wrong in the air. The guides exchange quiet words, uneasy glances. Even they are lost now. The forest has changed, or perhaps you have. Paths once clear are now unfamiliar. The compass spins. The sky disappears. That night, beneath a sickly moon, you dream again. But this time it isn't of lost cities. It is of standing alone, in a clearing, surrounded by tall trees, and hearing your name whispered, not from one direction, but from all of them. You wake breathless. The whisper stays with you. You begin to suspect something terrible, not just that you are being punished or tested, but that you are being transformed, unmade and remade by this place, pulled apart at the seams of your old identity, your old culture, your old sense of self. The jungle does not just destroy, it changes. And now you wonder, when you do emerge, if you do, will there be anything left of who you were? By now, the expedition is barely that. Whatever structure once held you together has dissolved. You move forward in scattered groups, or alone, sometimes not knowing whether the others are ahead or behind. The jungle has become a vast, pulsing force around you, indifferent, endless, and close. You no longer ask how far you've come. You ask whether there is any meaning in continuing at all. Still, something drives you forward. Perhaps it's not hope, but the fear of standing still, fear that stopping means death, or worse, being forgotten. You cling to movement, to the discipline of it, because everything else is slipping. Memories of home are now like objects seen through thick glass, distorted, distant, unreal. Then comes the betrayal. It starts with a simple discovery, a cache of supplies, hidden beneath a pile of moss and stones, salted meat, flint, tools. You stare at them in disbelief. Someone had these all along, not just for survival but hoarded, kept secret, as others starved and begged. The items are unmistakably from your own stores, now gone. A betrayal not from the jungle but from within. Your group converges, accusations fly. The man responsible doesn't deny it. He's calm, almost smug, as though he'd simply accepted the truth before the rest of you had. His logic is clear. Survival is not collective, it's personal. Why should he die for men too weak or too slow to protect what was theirs? There's a vote. A final moment of civilization. Do you exile him? Punish him? Let it go. The decision is made silently, with a nod, and the man is left behind the next morning. No one speaks of it again. Trust, already fragile, now shatters completely. You sleep lighter than ever, your blade closer than before. Every movement beside you is a question mark. Every glance holds suspicion. The expedition is no longer a unit. Its attention held together only by fear and proximity. Even the captain seems changed, not broken, but colder, calculating. He speaks only when necessary. His ambition remains, but it's no longer about discovery or glory. It's about proving he was right to lead you here, even if he must be the last man left to say so. And yet, even in this decay, the jungle reveals things that stop you in your tracks. One afternoon, emerging from a dense copse of trees, you find it, ruins, not grand towers or golden spires, but stone, walls too straight to be natural, carvings so weathered they barely exist, a broken step leading to nothing, a fragment of what once was. You fall to your knees beside it. Overwhelmed, the others gather in silence. For a moment, everything stops. This is what you came for. Proof. A sign that the legends weren't entirely false. That people once lived here, not as scattered tribes, but in permanence. A city or something close to one. You reach out, fingers brushing ancient stone, worn smooth by time and rain. You think about who built this place, how they lived, what they believed, what they left behind. Historians still debate whether such places represented entire civilizations lost to European ignorance, or simply isolated enclaves. You realize now how arrogant such questions are. To define a civilization only by what your world recognizes is to blind yourself to truth. This place was a city. Its size, its structure, its silence tell you that, and whatever happened to it is part of the mystery you now live inside. But the joy is short-lived. That night, as your group camps near the ruins, something changes. The air grows still, not just quiet, but void, as though sound itself has withdrawn. No insects, no wind, not even the usual groans of trees shifting in the night. Your guides, what few remain, refuse to sleep. They sit up straight, weapons across their laps, eyes fixed on the dark. You do the same, and then, in the deepest part of the night, a sound, barely audible, not close, but rhythmic, a tapping or a knock. It stops and starts again. No one speaks. You all hear it, and none of you understand it. You leave the ruins at first light, quickly and without discussion. As you travel on, the jungle changes subtly. The flora shifts. Different trees, different vines, a region that feels unsettled. Your guides confirm it. You've crossed into territory few ever visit. Even animals are scarce. The birds that remain call with unfamiliar voices. You sense it in your skin. This place is wrong. It's as if the jungle is holding its breath. Each night, the fire feels smaller. The darkness pushes in more closely. You feel watched again, but not by people. It's something older, something that's always been here, that accepted the ruins as part of itself, that remembers and does not forget. You begin to notice strange marks along your path. Not glyphs, but patterns. Woven leaves, scratched symbols on bark, small effigies made from bones and vines. Warnings. You're certain of it, and yet you keep going, because you no longer know how to stop. The captain becomes obsessed with returning to the ruins. He draws maps from memory, makes plans to circle back. He speaks now of uncovering more, of documenting everything, but the others won't follow him. Not back there, not now. Another fight brewed. You stand apart, watching, not knowing which side to take. To go back would mean certainty of danger, perhaps of death. But to go forward, into what? The jungle has become a mirror. It reflects every part of you. Fear, pride, guilt. Every decision feels heavy now, layered with consequence. There is no right path, only risk. You realize that survival will no longer come from strength or knowledge, but from understanding when to listen and when to let go. The day ends without a decision. You all make camp again, sleep again, march again. Each movement is automatic now, more ritual than choice. The expedition continues, not because it has purpose, but because it has momentum. Somewhere in the night, you wake and see someone standing at the edge of camp, looking into the trees. You rise, approach, but they're gone. You check the sleeping bodies. Everyone is accounted for. You say nothing, but something is following you. You don't realize you've arrived until it's already behind you. The signs began subtly, a dip in the earth, a widening of the trees, a change in the quality of silence. You thought it was just another clearing, until one of the guides halted without a word. He crouched, touched the soil, then stood up and simply pointed. There, half submerged beneath a mound of tangled vines and dark moss, lies a wall. Not a ruin like before. This one stands taller, sturdier. Its edges are sharper, its angles deliberate. You clear away the foliage slowly, reverently, revealing stonework too precise to be natural. The air around it feels cooler, heavier. You glance at your companions, and for the first time in days there is no movement, no murmur, just stillness. And then someone speaks the word you've all been avoiding: city. What you see isn't grand. Not yet. But it's unmistakable. Stone stairs climbing a slope, low walls forming rectangular outlines, carved stones half swallowed by roots. A sunken courtyard. It's all overgrown, almost unrecognizable, but it is there. This was once a place of gathering, of life, of belief. You press further. The expedition, suddenly alive again, moves with purpose, clearing vines, marking paths, sketching layouts in the dirt. The captain's voice returns, filled with vigor. The doctor, once silent, now takes notes feverishly. Even those who nearly gave up days ago seem transformed, eager, wide-eyed, driven by discovery. And yet, there's unease. No birds sing here, no insects buzz. The jungle, normally a chorus of sound, is eerily silent. Even the air feels different, colder though the sun burns overhead, and the ruins themselves bear no obvious iconography. No faces, no symbols of gods or kings, just clean, anonymous lines, as if designed not to be understood, but to be remembered. As you push deeper, more of the city emerges. A collapsed hall, with steps too wide for comfort, narrow corridors choked with vines. At the edge of a broken platform, you find a basin carved into the ground, still filled with stagnant water, though you cannot say how. The basin is lined with stone channels, leading off in 4 directions. The layout suggests ritual, purpose, but of what kind, you can only guess. One of the guides, the youngest, refuses to enter the ruins. He remains at the edge of the trees, muttering softly in his native tongue. You ask him what he sees, what he feels. He avoids your gaze, then whispers something that chills you more than anything else you've heard on this journey. It was never lost, just buried. For a reason. Historians still argue whether these early European sightings of jungle ruins were real cities or misinterpretations of ceremonial sites. But you know now, these weren't ceremonial, they were lived in. Permanent. Someone built this with intention, with skill, and then they left or vanished. As the expedition disperses through the site, strange things begin to happen. Your bearings slip. You turn a corner and find yourself back where you started. Compasses spin erratically. Some corridors seem longer than they should be. One man swears he saw a second staircase that no one else can find. Another says he found footprints in the dust, bare feet, fresh. Laughter breaks out nervously. It's just the jungle playing tricks again, someone says, but no one laughs twice. The captain insists on setting up camp within the ruins. You hesitate. Every instinct tells you not to. The guides refuse, choosing instead to sleep beneath the trees. Just outside the perimeter, you watch them, curled under branches whispering prayers into the dirt. You consider joining them, but in the end, you stay. Part of you wants to see what happens. Maybe you've been in the jungle too long. Night comes fast, shadows pool around broken walls and open doorways. The campfire flickers, casting long limbs of light that dance across the stone. You lie on your back, staring at the sky, but something keeps pulling your gaze toward the ruins. And then the dreams begin. You're walking alone through a city that isn't ruined. It's whole, alive. Torchlight flickers from open doorways. Voices echo down narrow alleys, deep, rhythmic, almost musical. You feel yourself drawn to the center of it, to the basin you saw earlier. But now it's full, not of water but of flickering red light. You hear chanting, low and steady. You lean over the edge and see your own face looking back, older, thinner, with eyes that do not blink. You wake with a start. Around you, others stir. Some sit upright, breathing heavily. A few cry softly. You realize you weren't the only one dreaming. The air feels tighter, the silence deeper. Someone throws more wood on the fire, but it burns low, reluctant. In the morning, one of your companions is gone. No note, no noise, no sign of struggle. His bedroll lies empty, and his gear untouched. It's as if he stood up and walked into the ruins, never looking back. You search half-heartedly, without conviction. Everyone senses it. He chose to go, or was called. You find yourself looking at the basin again. This time, you notice something new. Tiny grooves etched into the outer rim. They're not decorative. They form a pattern, but not one you recognize. You ask the remaining guide what they mean. He looks at them for a long time before answering. It's not a language, he says. It's a warning. Still, the captain refuses to leave. He calls this the greatest discovery of his life. He talks of empires, of funding, of returning with a proper team. He sketches madly now, hands shaking, eyes bloodshot. The others begin to avoid him, moving only in pairs. A new fear has taken hold, not of the jungle, but of each other. You understand now that the city wasn't hidden by accident. It was sealed, left to time and growth, to be forgotten. And you, like so many others before, have broken something sacred. That night, you do not sleep inside the ruins. You return to the edge of the trees, beside the guides, and sit silently beneath the stars. Insects sing again, faintly. The jungle is trying to reclaim its balance, but something has shifted. In the morning, you plan to leave. Whether the others follow, you do not know. The city will stay here, half buried and half remembered, and you will carry its weight with you, like a mark, like a curse. The decision to leave is not unanimous. You rise with the sun, pack quietly, and step away from the ruins, as if detaching yourself from a dream you no longer wish to revisit. A few follow, silent, tense, watching the forest rather than speaking. Others remain behind, either convinced of the captain's vision or too afraid to make another uncertain move. You don't judge them, you simply walk. But not 10 minutes into your departure, The forest closes behind you in a way it never has before. The path that led you in, worn, traced, familiar, is gone. The terrain is different. Hills, where there were none. Fallen trees that shouldn't be there. The air is thicker. You retrace your steps, certain of your bearings. But the landscape denies your memory. You look to the guides, and even they are hesitant now, their confidence thinned. That's when the first trap is sprung. A simple thing, a shallow pit, covered with foliage, lined with sharpened stakes. One of your companions falls in before anyone sees it. The scream is sharp and brief. You rush to the edge, already knowing what you'll see. His leg is impaled through the calf, blood pulsing between broken branches. You lift him out with care, trying to avoid eye contact with the others who are now searching the ground, as though it has turned to glass. The wound festers quickly. Even with bandages, even with herbs and poultices, the fever comes fast. You set camp early that day, not from exhaustion but from fear. It becomes clear, as the sun drops behind the trees, that you're not navigating anymore. You're being herded by what you still don't know, but someone or something does not want you to leave. That night, no one sleeps. The fire burns high and too fast. The jungle is awake again. You hear snapping branches, distant footsteps that stop when you listen too closely. Once, near dawn, you see a flicker of movement between the trees. Too fast to follow, too large to be animal. The shapes don't feel entirely human either. Not quite. The wounded man worsens. His breathing turns shallow. He murmurs things in the dark. Names of people long dead, places he never spoke of before. He opens his eyes briefly, stares directly at you, and whispers, "We're not the first. We never were." You believe it. Historians often speak of vanished expeditions, ships that entered the Amazon and were never seen again. Some are presumed lost to disease, others to starvation or conflict. But their stories always leave space for something unnamed, something that doesn't make it into letters home or official records. You are living that gap now, the part no one wants to write down. By morning, the man is gone. His body is cold. You bury him quickly, under heavy stones rather than soil. It's a precaution, but no one says why. You all understand. The silence has returned. Dense. Watch. Your group begins walking again, not in search of a path, but in the desperate hope that any direction might take you away from this place. But movement does not mean progress. The forest twists impossibly. You cross the same stream twice in a single day, even though you never turned. The sun, when it breaks through the canopy, does so at wrong angles. Your compass is useless. It spins as though pulled by forces beneath the soil. One of your guides, the eldest, finally stops walking. He kneels, touches the ground, and whispers something, then simply turns and walks away back into the trees alone. You never see him again. The captain reappears later that day. You hadn't expected to see him again. His face is wild now, bearded, sunken, eyes bright with something beyond madness. He doesn't speak, just stares at each of you in turn, as if trying to memorize your faces. Then he says it. "I was right. You'll see." He vanishes into the brush before you can stop him. A short time later, you come upon what looks like another piece of architecture, this time a stone platform, half submerged in earth. It resembles an altar, something ancient, worn, streaked with black moss. Beside it, offerings, bones, feathers, strange markings carved freshly into the bark nearby. This is not an ancient ruin. It has been used recently. You don't stop to study it. Later that evening, you're the one who finds the next trap. Your foot brushes a carefully balanced branch, and a rain of sharpened stones falls from above. You throw yourself to the ground. One grazes your shoulder, another buries itself in your companion's leg. You scream for the others, but no one moves quickly now. They are frozen, staring upward at the carefully constructed net of branches and stones still swaying above you. You move on, shoulder burning. There's no time for rest. Even the smallest campsites feel unsafe now, as if the very act of sleeping is a provocation. At one point, the remaining guide stops suddenly. He gestures for silence, then kneels and points. There, etched into the dirt, is a spiral. A perfect one, carved cleanly with a finger or tool. Surrounding it are prints, bare feet, dozens of them, not running, standing still, facing inward. It's a message. You just don't know what it says. You camp that night in a tree. It takes hours to climb and construct hammocks. But no one protests. Up there, the forest looks different, less alive, more skeletal. The trees sway in a wind you can't feel. The stars are strangely absent, as though a veil has been drawn over them. Sleep comes in brief, broken pieces. You dream again. Not of the city, not of your home, but of the spiral. It spins, slowly, then faster, until you feel yourself drawn inward into something cold, endless, and silent. When you wake, your mouth is full of soil. You don't ask how. The next day, you find the body. It hangs from a tree, stripped of clothing, arms bound behind the back, skin marked with patterns, lines and circles, etched into flesh. Eyes gone. It's not one of your group. It's someone else, someone who came before, or someone left behind. You stare too long, you recognize nothing, and yet you feel like you're seeing yourself. No one speaks. You cut the body down, not from mercy, but because you don't want it watching. That night, the jungle is silent again. But now you understand, it isn't quiet because nothing's there. It's quiet because something is listening. You no longer move with any illusion of control. The expedition has dissolved into fragments. 3 here, 2 there, and yourself, somewhere in between, tethered more by shared desperation than by plan. Food is gone. The last of the quinine has been chewed down to bitter powder. Firewood is damp and your body feels hollowed, worn not just by hunger, but by the constant presence of fear. It drips from the trees now, invisible but inescapable. Then you see them. At first it's just a flicker, a pale face behind the green, a brief glint of a sharpened tip, withdrawn just as quickly. Then, movement in the canopy, too fast, too fluid for monkeys. Your guides see them too. You all freeze, breath caught. You are being watched again. Not from afar this time, they are close. This time, they do not hide. Figures emerge from the jungle. Faces painted, bodies lean and silent. No battle cries, no raised weapons. Just presence, quiet, deliberate, overwhelming. You count at least a dozen, likely more beyond what you can see. They say nothing, but their eyes command you to stillness. You do not fight. Not because you are noble, but because you are spent. Any fight left in you was burned away days ago. You lower your blade slowly, show your open palms. The others follow. A moment passes, long, taut. Then one of them gestures. You are to walk. You obey. They do not tie your hands. They do not strike you, but their weapons remain visible, and their eyes do not leave your movements. You sense this isn't a victory for them, it's a test. You're led through the forest like a child. The path is unfamiliar, impossibly direct. In mere hours, you reach a place that would have taken your expedition days to find. An open grove surrounded by bark-painted posts. At the center, a thatched structure rises from the earth, its walls patterned in symbols unfamiliar to you. Inside, it's cool and dim, lit by filtered shafts of daylight through holes in the roof. You are told to sit. Then the questioning begins. Not through language, not at first, but through presence, through posture, through long, unblinking silence. Eventually, a translator steps forward. He is younger than the others, his voice careful. He tells you this is their land, not simply their home, but something more. You have broken a boundary, and they want to know why. You do not speak of gold. You do not speak of cities. You speak of survival, of lost direction, of sickness, hunger, and death. You feel pathetic, small, honest. You expect punishment. But instead, there is a long silence, then a nod. Water is brought. Then food, small portions, modest but clean. You eat slowly, grateful. It is the first time in days you've been offered something without fear. That night you are not tied down. A fire is lit nearby. They let you sleep beneath its warmth, but you do not drift off easily. You watch them as they move silently in the night. as one of them marks symbols on your boots with a brush made from twigs and dye. A protective sign perhaps, or a warning. You don't ask. The next morning a council is held. You are brought before elders, faces lined by age, adorned in bone and fiber, their expressions solemn. They speak for a long time, not to you, but among themselves. The translator relays only part of it. They debate your fate, not just whether you should live, but whether the damage you have caused can be undone. Because it is damage, that much is clear. You trespassed into a place sealed not by walls, but by memory. You disturbed something that was not yours to see. Their ancestors built cities, yes, but not to be conquered, not to be found. They buried them willingly, allowing the jungle to close over their past like a wound healed by time. You reopened that wound. Historians still argue over whether such indigenous legends of sealed cities were real or metaphorical. But here, now, you no longer care. You believe them. You feel the depth of the pain you've triggered. You feel it in the way they do not shout or strike, but instead speak of balance, of wrongs, of whether you are redeemable. And yet they do not kill you. Perhaps it's mercy, perhaps it's strategy. But instead, they offer a path. You will be led away, not where you want to go, but away from the heart. You will not return to the ruins. You will not speak of what you saw. If you do, they say, the forest will know. It will find you. Your choice is no choice at all. You nod. You agree. You mean it. They mark you again, this time with charcoal on your forehead. A single line, sharp and vertical. You are told not to wash it off. Not yet. And then they disappear. No goodbye, no departure. You wake the next morning, and they are gone. Food remains. A path is marked with stones. You are alone again, but not abandoned. Not quite. You follow the trail, not eagerly, but obediently. Your remaining companions regroup slowly. Some trickle in from the woods, guided in similar fashion. All marked, all changed. You speak little. The jungle feels gentler, but no less vast. The same insects hum, the same vines close in, but now it feels as though you are being guided, not tested. Watched, yes, but with intent. There is still danger, but also permission. For now, that night, as you camp on a ridge, overlooking a wide sweep of forest, someone breaks the silence. What do we say if we get out? The question hangs in the air. No one answers, because the truth is heavy. And the world outside, civilized, hungry, blind, will not understand. You watch the moon rise through tangled branches and wonder what kind of person will return. If anything of the old you is left, or if the jungle took that part and left something else in its place. You cannot yet name it, but you feel it inside you now, quiet, pulsing, permanent. You walk, not with purpose, but with acceptance. The trail marked by the stones winds steadily through a region that feels both familiar and foreign. The terrain is less tangled than what you remember. The air is clearer. Birds return to the trees, their cries cautious but present. You realize slowly that you've been released. Not entirely, but enough to survive, if you're careful. The charcoal mark on your forehead fades with time, though you still resist washing it away. You don't know what it meant, but you know it mattered. It was a boundary, not of ownership, but of recognition. You were seen, judged, spared. Now you carry that knowledge in silence. Your companions, fewer in number now, remain quiet as well. Words feel inadequate and perhaps dangerous. There is no storytelling, no retelling of what happened, just movement, survival, breath, step by step. The terrain shifts again. Wetlands rise to meet you. Marshy ground sucks at your boots. Each movement forward becomes a negotiation with the earth. Where to place your foot, how deep the mud will pull. You learn quickly that the swamp doesn't care how tired you are. One misstep can sink you to the knees. Or worse, one of your companions stumbles and disappears beneath the surface. In an instant, you lunge forward, grabbing his wrist. It takes 3 of you to pull him free, mud clinging like claws. He gasps, shaking, his eyes wild with terror. No one scolds him, no one says anything. You move on. The insects are worse here. Constant, aggressive, You swat reflexively at clouds of them, but they always return. Their persistence wears down your nerves. The buzzing becomes its own form of torture. Nights are the worst. You can't sleep. The sound crawls into your ears, your teeth, your bones. You begin to hallucinate. Shapes move at the edges of your vision. You hear voices in the reeds, faint, just beyond clarity. Sometimes they sound like your captain, other times like your own voice. You remind yourself it's the fever, that it's exhaustion, but a deeper part of you whispers that it's the land remembering you, calling you back. One night, unable to sleep, you rise and wander a short distance from the camp. You kneel beside a pool of water, moonlight reflecting off its surface. You stare at your reflection and see not your face, but the stone basin from the ruins. You blink, and it's gone. The water is still, but something has shifted inside you again. Historians often gloss over this phase of an expedition, the retreat, the exit. But it's here, in the struggle to come back, that transformation solidifies. You are no longer the person who left the coast. You are not even the one who found the city. You are someone else now, a witness to something larger than comprehension, a carrier of unspoken weight. And it shows, in your face, in your eyes. Even the jungle sees it. Animals no longer flee or approach. The vines no longer seem to clutch at your legs. There is no comfort, but there is a strange kind of recognition, as if the forest has acknowledged you. But danger still follows. One evening, as you ford a narrow stream, you notice something half buried in the shallows, a rusted sword. European make. Near it, the remains of a boot, overgrown with moss, bones beneath. You do not pause to investigate. You already know the story. A previous expedition, long forgotten, lost like yours. They did not find the city, or maybe they did, and weren't permitted to leave. You walk past the skeleton with bowed head, a silent prayer pressed to your teeth. Later, as night falls, you hear drums. Not close, not threatening. A low, steady rhythm, distant but unmistakable. You stop, heart pounding. The others freeze as well. No one speaks. You listen. The rhythm doesn't grow louder. It doesn't change. It's not a pursuit. It's a warning. The next day, you find your way blocked by flooded lowlands. Impassable. Water stretches for miles in every direction. Trees rise from the surface like ancient sentinels. Your guides, now silent, eyes drawn, look for a crossing. There is none. You have two choices: wait or go around. Waiting means exposure, risk, dwindling supplies. Going around means heading into unknown terrain again. The vote is quiet. You head east. That decision costs another life. The terrain becomes choked with thick roots, some of them hollow, brittle. One of your companions steps onto a seemingly solid path. It collapses. He vanishes into a sinkhole, the sound of his scream brief, swallowed by mud and water. You rush forward, but the earth crumbles beneath your feet. You back away. He is gone. You don't bury him. You can't. You don't even speak his name. His absence joins the others, tallied silently in your mind. Another part of you gone, another marker on the road back. That night, you find a dry rise just large enough for a fire. You sit in a tight circle. No one sleeps. Instead, you speak. Slowly, one at a time. You tell fragments of truth, not about the city, not about the ruins, but about what changed. What it felt like to be touched by something ancient, something that saw you and did not look away. One man speaks of a dream he had every night since the basin, that he was still inside it, looking up, waiting. Another says he no longer remembers the face of his mother, only the trees. One woman speaks of the stone steps, how they were too wide, too smooth, how they reminded her of teeth. You listen, and when it is your turn, you say nothing. Because some things, you've realized, are not meant to be spoken, only carried. You fall asleep with your eyes open. In the morning, the water has receded. The jungle is quiet, almost kind. You rise, brush mud from your skin, and walk forward. Still marked, still changed, but alive. You don't notice the river until you hear it. At first, it's just a low murmur beyond the trees, familiar, almost comforting. Then it swells, a rush, steady and strong. You push through the last tangle of undergrowth, and there it is. Wide, slow-moving, shining, like hammered bronze in the late afternoon sun. A tributary, perhaps, but one large enough to carry you away from here. You feel something crack inside you, relief and grief knotted tightly together. This river, whatever its name, flows eastward, toward the coast, toward the world, toward memory. The others gather beside you, ragged and hollow-eyed. You watch them take it in. No one speaks, no one smiles. But something shifts. The current hums with the promise of movement, of direction. You haven't felt that in weeks. Quickly, you set about building rafts. There are no more boats, no more canoes. Only logs lashed together with vine and hope. The work is slow. Your fingers are blistered, your muscles brittle from hunger. But your hands remember how to build. And desperation lends strength. You work in silence, the rhythm of labor grounding you. One raft becomes 2, then 3. Just enough. Barely. You sleep one more night, on land, afraid to let the jungle be the last thing you see before you drift. That night, the dreams return. But they're different now. Not visions of ruins, or spirits, or spirals, but of water. Dark, endless water. And in it, shapes. Not creatures, people, faces. Just beneath the surface. Eyes open, watching, waiting. You wake with tears drying on your cheeks, unsure whether they come from sorrow or fear. At dawn, you board the rafts. The current takes you immediately. There's no time for ceremony, no farewell, just the soft creak of wood, the swish of water, and the slow unraveling of your long entanglement with the forest. Trees line the banks, but they grow thinner. Palms give way to scrub. The sky widens. But the jungle does not release you easily. Only hours into your journey, a storm rolls in. Thunder cracks. Rain lashes the river like a whip. The rafts pitch and spin, barely holding together. You shout to each other, voices lost in the roar. One raft breaks apart entirely. Your last guide goes under. You never see him surface. You scan the water until dark, hoping, even praying, that he is gone. By evening, you find shelter along a rocky bend. You drag the surviving rafts ashore, collapse beneath a rock overhang, and sit soaked, shivering, silent. The storm fades. Stars prick the sky, and then, for the first time in days, someone laughs. A short, dry sound. Disbelieving, maybe hysterical, but real. It spreads slowly, like a flame finding breath. Laughter. At nothing, at everything, at the sheer absurdity of it all. You join in, you don't know why, but it breaks something open. And for the first time in weeks, you remember that you are human. The next morning, the river is calm again. You float for days. Time becomes meaningless. Faces thin with hunger, skin peels from sun exposure. You grow quiet again, not from fear this time, but fatigue. You are used up, hollowed out. And then, one evening, you round a bend and see smoke. Thin wisps above the tray line, and a jetty wooden, crude figures moving along the bank. You can't speak, your throat locks. You point. The others rise to their knees, squinting. A small village. Real. You drift in slowly, your raft scraping against the mud. People run to meet you, voices shout in Portuguese, hands pull you ashore. You try to speak, but no words come. You are caught in their arms, steadied, fed, laid down on mats. You see faces, strange, unfamiliar, but human. Not watchers, not hunters, just people. One of them touches your forehead, fingers pausing where the charcoal mark once was. You sleep for 2 days. When you wake, the others are still there. Not all, but most. You exchange glances, nods, the barest acknowledgement. The people of the village do not press you with questions. They see the wear on your faces and offer kindness instead. One of them asks where you came from. You pause. Then you say only this. Too far. They seem to understand. Later, a trader comes through. You write a letter. Just one. You don't know who it will reach or whether it matters. You simply need to say that you are alive, that the jungle did not take all of you, that something was found, though you no longer know whether it was a place or a truth. You stay in the village for a week, then another. Some choose to remain indefinitely. They say they have nothing to return to. You understand, the forest took their homes away, long before they ever left them, but you choose to leave. You board a canoe bound down river. This time, you are a passenger. You do not look back. As the trees thin and the air grows saltier, you feel something heavy settle in your chest. You are free, but changed. You understand now what was taken, and what was given in return. You carry it all. The names, the silence, the city that should never have been found. The jungle does not forget, and neither will you. The journey is over. The sounds of the jungle, once deafening, have faded into memory, replaced now by quiet rooms and soft walls. But you can still feel the weight of the vines, the sting of the river, the cool smoothness of carved stone beneath your fingers. Even now, far removed from the green vastness, you know that part of you remains behind, buried somewhere in that place where time bent and logic broke, and something older than any map looked back at you. The dreams haven't stopped, but they've softened, less of fear now, more of echo. A whisper through leaves, a basin filled with stars. You lie in your bed, not a hammock or the cold earth, and still, your body expects movement, hears phantom insects, braces for footsteps just beyond the light. But you're home, wherever that is now, and in the quiet hours when your thoughts drift and your mind loosens, you don't regret it. Not all of it, because deep in that vast and terrible place, something was revealed. Not to the world, not to history, but to you, a truth too old for books, too sacred for speech. So rest now. You've seen more than most ever will. You walked into the jaws of a land that forgets no one, and came back carrying its mark. Sleep, with the soft breath of the fan beside you, with the darkness held at bay not by firelight, but by memory. Because tonight, you're safe, and the jungle dreams for you.